Welcome. So good to see so many students' faces and caregivers' faces and everyone else out there tonight. I'd like to call to order this regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting, Wednesday, March 19th at 5:30. Ms. Stokely, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Coco?
Here.
Mr. Gomez?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here. Thank you. Item B is approval of the agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves the agenda of the March 19th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of a consent agenda means that all items are adopted by one singular motion unless a member of the Board of Education, treasurer, or superintendent requests that any item be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Stokely, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Item C is our opening ceremony, informational items. This meeting is a meeting of the Cuyahoga Falls Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not a public community meeting, although there are opportunities for public participation. If an individual wishes to address the board regarding a topic found on the meeting agenda, the individual must complete a registration form found inside the attendance notebook and present it to the treasurer. Following the introduction of the topic by the board president, followed by board discussion, the individual will be recognized. If an individual wishes to address the board regarding a topic not found on the meeting agenda, he or she must notify the superintendent and/or board president of the topic no later than 3 business days in advance of the meeting. These individuals may share their comments during the board business portion of the agenda. In both cases, the individual will preface comments by an announcement of his or her name and address and limit comments to 3 minutes. All statements should be directed to the board president. No person may address or question board members individually. An unabridged board agenda for this meeting can be found on your electronic device at the address on the screen. And for your convenience, hard copies of the board agenda may be found on the table by the sign-in book over there on the library stand. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Cuyahoga Falls Board of Education is April 9th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Cuyahoga Falls School Library. And now for our Pledge of Allegiance and welcome, Mr. Harris.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome. Our vision, Cuyahoga Falls City School District, the hub of our community committed to a culture of caring. We innovate, we create, we personalize education for all. Our mission, every student, every day, every opportunity. The board's strategic plan goals are as follows. School safety. We aspire to have a welcoming environment that ensures the physical and social well-being needs of every student and staff member are met. Academic growth. We aspire to have significant growth through personalized education for all students. We aspire to improve graduation rates so that our students are prepared for employment, enrollment, or enlistment. Engagement, inclusion, and diversity. We ensure that every student has access to resources they need when they need it in order to be successful. And technology systems and integration. We aspire to create safe, secure, and efficient technology systems to support high-quality teaching, learning, and district operations.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Item D is our presentations. Up first is our military recognition, and Mr. Gomez is going to lead that recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, and I have a few people joining me tonight. First is Miss Peggy Whitcomb, and she just got back from Columbus today. She was representing the entire state of Ohio in Columbus with the governor's office and representing all military families at a meeting with the governor. And we're very gifted because Peggy Whitcomb works here for the Cuyahoga Falls City School District in our Human Resources Department, and one of the things she also does for us is coordinate resources for all of our military families. So if we could give her a round of applause. And would you also let us know the award you recently received?
I was named the Ohio National Guard Volunteer of the Year.
Aww.
So we're very proud to have her. And we have from the Daughters of the American Revolution,
Judy Orsine.
Judy Orsine. And so every year at graduation as the Board of Education, we see our students who have joined the armed forces, and we see them wearing their stoles recognizing the different armed forces, and we always say to each other, we should have done more to honor those students. So this was the year we decided we were going to do something more to honor them. And so on March 11th, the state of Ohio had Ohio Military Signing Day. So this is our Board of Education meeting closest to that day. We're very proud that there are 4 students from Cuyahoga Falls High School that have already committed to joining the armed forces after their graduation. And as a Board of Education, we say that every student who graduates, we want them to be employed, enlisted, or enrolled. So this is an absolute success for these 4 students. And we know that not all of them were able to be here tonight, but we want to recognize all of them. So as I say their names, if they could please come forward, I'm going to recognize the branch of military that they've committed to. First is Ahmed Nur Ahmed, and he's committed to the Army National Guard. Grace Henry, who is also committed to the Army National Guard. Gavin Taylor, who is committed to the U.S. Army. And Grant Orsine, who is committed to the U.S. Marines. One of our Purple Heart schools made these for you. So I'm going to give you some well wishes. This is a lot funner. And then the DAR has something for you as well.
And it's important to note that Judy is Grant's grandmother. The Cuyahoga Falls chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution is very active in supporting our schools here. And we support Price and the high school. And is there another school? Or just Price and the high school? Yeah. And we provide supplies, snacks, things that they might need. So Judy is awarding Grant a certificate, and then we're going to give him his first military coin, which is a big deal in the military.
Grant, on behalf of the Cuyahoga Falls Chapter Daughters of the American Revolution, we're very proud to honor you and the other 3 students who have already enlisted in the military, and we're happy to have you here tonight. And this is a certificate of recognition for already enlisting in the United States Marine Corps, presented to you on this date from our chapter. And I would like to say also that and I promised Grant I would not embarrass him, but I do want to say that Grant is the 4th generation in his father's family to graduate from Cuyahoga Falls High School, and the 3rd generation in his mother's family to graduate from Cuyahoga Falls High School. And I think this says a lot for the city and for the high school and for the school system in general. Thank you.
Well, 2 other things to share. So we have 3 Purple Star schools in our district. We have Lincoln, Preston, and Richardson. And those schools have worked with ODE to go through a process to show that they support the military and the military families and veterans in our community. April is Month of the Military Child, so look for some announcements about wearing purple. Purple is the color of the military child. The dandelion is the flower because it's very resilient. And then May 2nd, we will be having a district-wide event called military and veterans appreciation and resource event, and that will be held at the natatorium from 4 to 7. So we welcome everyone. It's open to the public, and we welcome you to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2 is Mr. Bill Johnson. I'd like to call him up. And he'll be recognizing career enhancements. Kevin.
So if Noah, Logan, and Zach are here, if you guys could come up. So I have been working with Noah, Zach, and Logan since the fall of 2023. After fighting through the Stark State registration process, which I believe they will tell you is the hardest part of the program. Each student successfully completed Intro to Computer Programming, Logic, C++ programming, and Java programming. Through the 3 classes, they've completed technical programs like calculating elasticity and manipulating vectors. They've done financial problems like maintaining a savings account and determining taxes withheld from a paycheck, and even made games like Hangman and Rock, Paper, Scissors, Lizard, Spock. Along with earning 9 credits, they have each also been awarded a Career Enhancement Certificate in Computer Science from Stark State College, which is similar to a minor for a bachelor's degree. These students can now proudly include these certificates on college applications and their resume.
There's certificates for them and pins up there as well on the lectern.
Thank you very much. I've heard some of the amazing things that these students have done through this program, and I'm just in awe of the talent that we have with these students and all of our students here in the district. Item 3 is our Staff Star Award. I'd like to call up Ms. Allison Boston.
Good evening, everybody. Before I get started with recognizing our Staff Star Award, Ms. Christine Stewart wanted me to make the announcement that if you have been recognized already, please stick around because we are going to be taking pictures immediately following Top Tigers. I know how some high school students are and they sneak out that back, so you stay right here, okay? Every month we honor and award a staff member that's been nominated by their colleague. And it's an exciting award because it gives us an opportunity to say, just to recognize those above and beyond people that are doing things for our children and our students every single day. Before I announce who is our Staff Shining Star this month, I'd like to ask Mr. Jason Smith to come up to the podium, as well as Miss Lisa Collado, who nominated this person, so they can join me in recognizing the Ms. Michelle Wright, who is a math teacher is she here? Come on up, Michelle. She is a math teacher at the high school, and she is our March Staff Shining Star.
It was really hard to keep this a secret. Ms. Wright is a passionate and caring teacher. She goes above and beyond to make lessons hands-on and relevant for her students. Her former students love her so much they continue to come and ask for assistance, even in their current math classes. Her students describe her as a great individual with great energy, always engaging, hard to ignore, helps keep her students focused even during tests. She'll make time to make sure you understand the material. Her assignments focus on every student, not just her own plan. She's a cool leather jacket and a Jeep. She does different activities, not just paperwork and online. Most of all, she's funny. And very important to me, she's always willing to step up anytime I need her to chaperone, even if it's overnight in the woods. Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I was totally surprised, though. I had no clue. I didn't even know. I was trying to figure out how I even got nominated. So, and I'm terrified to be up here, which is really strange, being a teacher. But, yeah, no, I just try to teach the kids how I would want my son to be taught. You know? All right. Thank you.
And now what so many of you students have been sitting here waiting patiently for, it's our top Tiger recognition. I'd like to call up Mrs. Jody Houseman. She's way ahead of me, she's right.
This is exciting. Usually Dr. Selico, our superintendent, does the honor of this, so I'm the assistant superintendent filling in for her while she's recovering. So what a special treat to be here with you tonight. So Top Tiger is an award given by the Board of Education to students from each building each month. The students are chosen by various staff members in their buildings, and I get the distinct honor of reading each nomination, and Ms. Schaefer is here to assist and to hand out some special treats. I'm going to ask that when I announce the student's name that they come forward, and as I read the description of why they were chosen. After that, I ask that each student come up and receive their bag from Ms. Carrie Schaefer. After all the students have been honored, we will meet in the cafeteria and Ms. Stewart will take pictures. In addition to the awards and picture, you will also receive a yard sign from our CFEA president, Mrs. Melody Carlisle. Give a shout out over there. Once everything, yes. Thank you. And then, once everything is complete, it's exit stage left. You don't have to stay for the whole board meeting. I would also like to add that we have many generous community sponsors, including the Cuyahoga Falls School Foundation and Alumni Association. Thank you to all of our partners who encourage our students to be the best that they can be. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Barbara Tresh, the Communication and Technology Leader of the Foundation, to say a few words.
It's actually Mrs. Chris Schrader tonight.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Barbara, I can be
Thanks for being here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Schrader. I'm a trustee of the Cuyahoga Falls Schools Foundation and Alumni Association. I'm also a 1970 grad of Cuyahoga Falls High School. 55 years this year. Anyway, the Cuyahoga Falls School Foundation and Alumni Association is one of the sponsors of the Top Tiger Award. Each year, we award over $150,000 in student scholarships and teacher grants. And we also recognize distinguished alumni and host a recognition program and reception each May. All of our Top Tigers are invited to march with us in the Memorial Day Parade. So there'll be a letter to all the parents about that, but we really want you to be there for the Memorial Day Parade. It's a lot of fun. And so, as you said, afterwards, we'll go over there, you'll get your picture taken, then you'll go back and have a seat, and I'll call you up by school to get your t-shirt and a folder to give to the adult that brought you here tonight. On behalf of the Cuyahoga Falls Schools Foundation and Alumni Association, we congratulate all of our Top Tigers on earning this very special award. Thank you.
So for those who come every month to enjoy the Top Tigers, I think Dr. Selico is probably listening from home tonight. What do you think? Do you bet she's listening? So I really want her to come back to work because we've missed her. I I really want her to come back to work. And so I'm gonna break a rule that Dr. Selico always have. So Silver Lake, are you ready? Are you ready? Come on, Mr. Dolka, we're gonna do it. We're gonna break the rule. So our first student is Estelle Wenhart. Estelle, come on up. All right. You stand right here. Estelle is truly a wonderful student. Her kind heart shines through in everything she does, and she consistently strives for excellence in her work. She's a fantastic helper to her classmates, always willing to lend a hand, and a real asset to the classroom. Estelle participates, always has a listening ear, and is ready to learn. She's a pleasure to have in class, and her dedication to doing her best on every task is truly admirable. Way to go, Estelle. Congratulations. Our next student, Callan Zhang. Callan is an amazing young man. He always demonstrates Black Tiger pride. He is a respectful person, and he expects the same of those around him. Callan is responsible and will even help his teacher stick to her responsibilities. I love that. Callan does everything he can to keep himself and our class safe, as well as encourages good choices everywhere he goes. Callan is a joy to have in class and at Silver Lake Elementary. We are proud to have Callan as a top tiger. Okay, now I'm gonna follow the rule. Okay, DeWitt. Reagan Crabtree. Reagan has consistently demonstrated exceptional academic abilities, earning excellent grades and showing a real love for learning. Reagan's hard work and dedication are truly inspiring. She strives to do her best, and her efforts are paying off because beyond Reagan's academic success, she's a shining example of being respectful, responsible, and safe. She treats her classmates and teachers with kindness and consideration, and she's always thinking of others and how to help. Levi Oxley. Levi is a hardworking student who strives for excellence in everything he does. He leads by example, providing a fantastic role model for all the DeWitt students. His love of learning in and out of school is very evident, often contributing interesting facts to our class discussions. Do you remember one? Okay. Levi not only takes responsibility for his learning, but for his materials as well. Wow, that's a big one. Good for you. He is always prepared to take out what he needs in order to be successful. He makes choices that are respectful, responsible, and safe, not to just receive praise, but to embody what a Black Tiger is. Congratulations. Levi, and he's quick. He's quick. Take a picture right here. Okay, thank you. Okay, Lincoln, Caden Bimshas. Caden comes to school every day happy and ready to learn. Not only does Caden do well with his academics, but he is kind and caring to his classmates. Caden is always the first student to offer help to another student or teacher. Caden has grown with his academics this year. He has worked hard to learn his letters, sounds, and addition and math. Outside of school, Caden is very close to his family. He loves to tell stories about his younger sisters. Are they true stories? Caden has also been involved with baseball, soccer, and wants to try karate this year. That's awesome. Caden is developing into a wonderful leader in his community, and we are excited to honor him this month. Congratulations, Caden. Peyton Kennedy. Peyton? Yes, I love it. It's like the Black Tiger. Take tiger, right? So, Peyton is an outstanding student in the classroom. Not only does she exhibit exceptional academic skills, but she also demonstrates outstanding character. Peyton is a kind and compassionate friend to her classmates and is always willing to lend a helping hand. She comes to school every day with a positive attitude and a smiling face. She's a model student who embodies Black Tiger pride and encourages others to do the same. Peyton stays involved in the community by participating in gymnastics, I believe that, and Boys and Girls Club. Peyton's honest, respectful, and trustworthy nature are among the qualities that make her worthy of earning this Top Tiger honor. We are excited to see all the great things that she does in the future. Way to go. Way to go. All right. And now we have Malik Ajarati. The first word that comes to mind when Preston team thinks of Malik is helpful. He is such a caring young man and wants to help in any way he can. He jumps at the chance to help a student and the adults. When it comes to his classroom work, Malik turns in work that is neat, double-checked, and always something to be proud of. Malik is an excellent reader, and everyone always wants to be his partner. Thank you for always showing that Black Tiger pride, Malik. Congratulations. Mila Johnson. Okay, well, we're going to brag behind your back, okay? Mila was a unanimous choice for our Top Tiger for this month. She is one of the most responsible and caring students we have at Preston. Mila quietly leads by example in all that she does. She dedicates herself to working hard every day and helping in all kinds of ways without even being asked. She will be missed terribly as she heads to middle school, but the Preston family cannot wait to see all she accomplishes. Congratulations, Mila. Xavier Nieder. Here's Xavier. Xavier embodies the spirit of a Black Tiger. He is a hardworking, highly motivated student with incredible stamina, always striving to improve and be his best. He is also a kind, wonderful friend and a helpful member of our classroom. Xavier is a true role model for his peers. We are incredibly proud of his dedication and growth. Congratulations. Ruby Suba. Ruby is truly an exceptional student, not just because of her amazing academic growth, but because of her unwavering dedication and work ethic. She approaches every challenge with a positive attitude and a willingness to put in extra effort. She does not get discouraged easily and always maintains her positive attitude, right? Yes. Whether she's tackling reading, multisyllabic words, solving math problems, or writing informative paragraphs, her perseverance is inspiring, and her genuine enthusiasm for learning makes her a joy to have in the classroom. We are so proud of you, Ruby. Olivia Ramon Wells. Olivia is a shining example of what it means to be a respectful, inclusive, and responsible student at Richardson Elementary. At recess, she goes above and beyond to ensure that all students, including those with varying abilities, feels included and valued. Love that. Whether she's inviting them to join a group game or encouraging them to try new activities, Olivia's kindness and empathy shine through. In the classroom, Olivia serves as a true role model for partner work. She is patient, focused, and collaborative, always ensuring that her partner feels supported and heard. Olivia's responsible nature extends to her own learning. She approaches challenges with a positive attitude and a determination to succeed. Olivia's actions exemplify the qualities of a true Top Tiger. Congratulations. Rondi. Calvin here. Okay, if you see him, tell him we bragged about him. So Calvin embodies the qualities of a true top tiger through his kindness, hard work, patience, and leadership. Calvin is kind to everyone he meets, greeting them with a warm smile and a listening ear. His patience and acceptance shine brightly, especially during indoor recess. Calvin goes above and beyond to teach and support students of varying needs in games like Uno and Battleship, ensuring everyone feels included and has fun. In the classroom, Calvin is actively engaged in lessons and frequently participates. He works hard and strives to do his best in all his endeavors. Calvin is a role model for his peers and a valuable member of our school community. Congratulations to Calvin. Okay. At BOLIC, Matthew Doan. Matthew consistently demonstrates respect not only for teachers and staff, but also for his fellow students, offering a polite good morning and readily listening to others. Oh, sorry. There we go. Right here. You stand right next to me. There we go. Perfect. And readily listening to others' perspectives. His responsibility shines through in his diligent approach to schoolwork, always prepared and taking initiative to understand challenging concepts. Beyond academics, Matthew embodies responsibility by helping maintain a clean and organized classroom and readily volunteering for school projects. Finally, his commitment to safety, whether it's carefully following science lab protocols or reminding classmates about school rules, makes him a true leader in creating a secure learning environment. Matthew's recognition as a top tiger reflects his dedication to those core values and his positive impact on the entire school community. India Height. India? Here she is. She's coming. India practices Black Tiger Pride every day. She is very respectful with her peers and adults. She has lovely manners and is gracious with everyone. India is a very responsible student in and out of class. This is especially true when she has to do her makeup work. India wastes no time in finding out what she had missed and getting the work in. Finished correctly with no additional reminders from her teachers. Wow, that's impressive. Good job. Finally, India practices safety in the classroom and the hallways. We appreciate that she follows all rules without adult reminders. She's a valuable member of the Hive team. Congratulations. Next, we have Emily Clayton. Right up front. Okay. Whether it's in the classroom, on a project, or in extracurricular activities, Emily approaches every task with a level of dedication and focus that inspires those around her. While Emily may not always seek the spotlight, her leadership is consistently demonstrated through her actions rather than words. Emily is involved in Ruling Our Experience at Roberts, called ROCKS. This program's goal is to create generations of confident girls who are in control of their own relationships, experiences, decisions, and futures. Emily's passions outside of school are running, reading, and rock climbing. Emily shows an exceptional ability to balance both academic and personal pursuits, making her not only a standout student, but a quiet and impactful leader. We are confident that her leadership, commitment, and values will continue to guide and inspire others in the future. Congratulations, Emily. Morgan Houston. Morgan is an amazing young man. Morgan excels in school as he had all A's for both quarter 1 and quarter 2 of 7th grade while taking honors ELA and Math 7-8. He volunteers answers, turns in all assignments, and is polite to both staff and other students. Morgan excels on the field as well as at school. He belongs to 2 soccer clubs, Liberty FC and 14U, Great Lakes Alliance League, Cuyahoga Falls Soccer Club, Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Baseball Association, and participates in the Olympic Development Program. Morgan will be traveling to Portugal and Spain with the Liberty FC team to play in the Little World Cup this summer. Outside of school, Morgan likes going to the gym, hiking, kayaking, and camping. Congratulations. All right, high schoolers, last but not least, Elizabeth Campbell. Although she is active both socially and as a member of the symphonic band, Lizzie shines as a student in the Latin program. Lizzie began her Latin journey when she was a freshman with Latin 1. Since then, Lizzie has persevered and worked hard to learn the language. Now as a senior, she has grown to become not only a great Latinist, but a great person as well. Beyond any inborn skill, these qualities of dedication and perseverance are the ones that truly exemplify a top Tiger. Congratulations. Dikshia Fuel. Dikshia is an exceptional young lady who embodies the true spirit of citizenship and academic excellence. A dedicated student with a strong work ethic, she consistently strives for and achieves high academic marks. Beyond her scholastic achievements, Dikshia is deeply committed to making a positive impact within both Cuyahoga Falls High School and the broader community. She has been involved in a variety of extracurricular activities, demonstrating her leadership and dedication. Her participation in the Executive Committee, National Honor Society, Tiger Crew, Sources of Strength, and Tiger Backers showcases her commitment to both student leadership and fostering a positive school environment. Dikshia's commitment extends beyond Cuyahoga Falls High School. She has generously volunteered her time at food banks, hospitals, and libraries, directly impacting the lives of those in need. Balancing these commitments with a part-time job also further underscores her remarkable work ethic. Her dedication to academics, citizenship, and service makes her a role model for peers and a shining example of what it means to be a top Tiger. Congratulations. Okay, our top Tigers. You want to give a big round of applause for these wonderful people you brought with you today? Because they helped make it happen, right? So thank you, all our caregivers, parents, guardians, for supporting these amazing students. We're so proud to recognize them tonight. So at this time, we're going to travel across the hallway to the cafeteria because we want to take pictures of all of you wonderful people. And then after that time, we hope you have a lovely evening with this gorgeous weather. So thank you.
No text from the song.
Yeah.
Text you.
I'm looking.
You looked, we didn't get one yet.
Not yet. I thought I'll surely grab her attention with that.
Huggy.
Yes, a go no. Please hire me. Come back. Thank you, Ms. Schaefer.
Item E is Treasurer CFO's Business Consent Agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves all items listed in the Treasurer CFO's Business Consent Agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just a couple of things. One would be the electricity provider resolution. So we have done this in the past. This is just a renewal, so, we have one building, Silver Lake, that does not get its electricity from the city of Cuyahoga Falls. And so through the, Ohio Schools Council, they lock us into kind of the agreements, just like you would with your home, for certain rates over a 2-year period. So our 2-year period is coming due, and this will start again on July 1st through the next 2 years. Same exact everything, just a renewal, other than the rate, obviously, but same exact companies and everything like that. So this is our renewal for that, and then if you recall, as part of,
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes. Oh,
And
sorry.
it's always for a 2-year period, so we're not changing the period.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The other one would be as part of our ODEW financial recovery plan. Once that was approved, which was approved in February, it was then subsequently approved, submitted to ODEW and approved by them. And so the last step is that they require that we file a forecast. There's an optional period right now, not a mandatory, because only mandatories are May and November. But there's an optional 5-year forecast window that we submit our updated forecast that matches the recovery plan to ODEW. So that's what this is. It's the exact items you saw and the bottom lines that you saw in that recovery plan. This just mimics that forecast.
And this is the base recovery plan, not any of the additions that you presented, correct? It's the base recovery plan that gets us to solvency.
Correct.
And then from there, you presented us some additional options.
Yes.
Those are not
Correct,
included
yes,
in what
this
we're
is just the
approving.
one that got us in compliance to not be in the red in that year 3.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then the last would be the donations. As usual, there's a bunch of them, and so we have our birdie bags and, gift cards from PABS and Metropolis, local businesses, and our, some books. And then we have, some donations to the family career, or to the family center Family Center, Black Tiger Family Center. So, there's a number of those that we're always grateful for.
I would just like to say thank you to our community for their continual support of our schools and the community center. I know when we opened the community center, I don't think we were worried. I think we had confidence that people would continue to show up, and they have in big ways over and over and over again. So I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Alright, I'd also add a shout out to Ms. Palmisano for her work in making sure that her community hack was successful and the winners had prizes, because there's quite a few donations on here for winners of the community hack, which is a big event that Ms. Palmisano puts on every year here at the high school. So a shout out to her as well.
So got some waterworks one day passes on there. That's a pretty great prize. I mean, all of them are great. Downview, natatorium. Anything else? Mr. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye. Item F is Treasurer CFO's Business. Ms. Stokely.
I'd like to recommend the Board of Education approve the February 2025 investment schedule and monthly spending report.
So moved.
Second.
Just a couple of things to note. First, interest. So again, we're still doing, pretty good there. A little down from last month. Again, most of those are in our construction funds, as we had a lower balance in the general fund. These are our lower months, as you know. But you can see it's a little bit of an uptick because we started receiving some advancements from Summit County. So if you look at the general fund monthly cash flow, you will see obviously a very big difference from December and January, even November, to February. February was over $11 million. Most of that is tax advances. So it was a net positive of about 5.6 million, which puts us back over 10 million for February. Keep in mind again that we did do that double payment for insurance, which is close to around $800,000. So technically, really, right now we'd be at right around 11 million. And then.
In the general fund, do we expect any more money coming from property tax?
Yeah, we have not gotten the final settlement yet,
Okay.
and we received an advance in beginning of March as well. So you'll see that sometimes that settlement usually comes in April, so you'll see a little bit over the next 2 months there for that. So.
Okay.
Any questions or discussions?
Yeah, you have athletics up. Were you gonna say something about that?
No, I don't think I have.
No.
Let me double check. I don't think there's anything. No, that one, it's after last month, we kind of went back to getting everything on track. So we're back in the positive there and have everything kind of straightened out and moving forward on that, so.
And then what about food service?
Food service.
Um,
I think this was another month that, yeah, so this month, I'm expecting that we'll probably receive a double payment in March for reimbursement from the state for,
Okay.
Our free and reduced students. Obviously, 32,000 is just what we brought in from students adding money to lunch accounts, things like that, purchases. But we received in the beginning of March our large reimbursement, and then I assume towards the end of March we'll receive another one. So you'll see a double one, similar to how it was in November and December. If you look, that we brought in about 58,000, but then the next month we saw about 377,000 because of the timing of those reimbursements. And you can see, if you look at past years, it's kind of similar to that. Looks like last year it happened maybe January, February instead of February, March. But there's those ebbs and flows to when we receive those.
Do we think as we go into the new building that food service will continue to be sustainable on its own as it has been? Because that's kind of been, I mean, definitely not as high as it used to be.
Correct. I believe so. However, I'm gonna put a little caveat on that, is there is a lot of, pending ideas in legislation about removal of some, some Medicaid, pullback, which right now we're receiving reimbursements for. So it is going, if everything was status quo, and nothing changed, I do believe that it would sustain itself, excuse me. However, any changes those changes would most likely negatively impact the food service budget.
Because they're also, like at the state level, they're saying they're gonna take away the free for reduced, which we've had for the last 2 years. And I think we know our reduced population is very large in this district. So that would have a big impact on us as well. So that's, I mean, just thinking of the overall impact that food service has on our budget.
Yes, I think they'll be able to, like I said, without any changes, be okay. However, any changes that are being proposed right now are negatives for us, not positives.
Yeah. Anything else? Mr. Hoy, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomes?
Aye.
And item Madam G, your comments?
I don't really have much. We are ramping up for next school year, if you can imagine, with the budgeting process. And so, we've kind of teed up everything on our end and is going to be sending out communication, most likely tomorrow, actually, to the buildings and the different departments, about all of the number of items that they will need to complete before they leave for the year. So, that has been kind of our focus here over the last month or so, in addition to many other things, but, getting all that kind of rolled over to the next year. So, we'll be seeing a lot of that come in, which will help us get ready for those end of the year, and then that first meeting in July, those two board meetings to, close out one and begin the other. And that's really all I have.
Can I ask a question about budgeting? So with the plan that we just approved a little bit ago, it calls for a 10% reduction in all the budgets. But the way we do the budgeting with the zero-based budgeting, how will you implement those reductions with that form of budgeting?
So within their, like the worksheet that we provide to them, we give them a history, so it has like this year's appropriations by, by their budgets. And then, previous year's history. We are asking them that whatever was appropriated this year, and there's a total at the bottom, that it's 10% less than that. So however, they go through all their items and they put those things in, when they get to those new totals for next year, they may have to go back and say, okay, there's some things that we should do or we want to do, but we don't have to do, that they may have to move or sacrifice one thing for the other in that instance. So they'll still go through the same process, but once it's complete, what we're looking at is that total number this year, that next year's number is 10% below that. And so that's going to be their gauge too before they submit it, that is that where it needs to be, or else obviously, we're not going to accept that, or we will make those decisions on what's cut out, at that point, like we do normally with a lot of their, should do's or want to do's when we make those decisions on whether that's feasible or not.
And then you'll give us some, like, detail of that when you present the budget for us to approve? Okay, thank you.
In my head, I'm thinking of when I have to go to the grocery store, and it would be like having $90 instead of $100.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids, put back the cookies. Those aren't necessary.
You're gonna have to put back the cookies this year. Sorry, mean moms.
Or put back the apples.
When you see in the grocery store, like something out of place, and it's like, the cookies over in like the towels, and as my kids go by, they always say, oh, somebody's mom said no.
A decision was made.
I'm the mom that's gonna say no.
I think there's gonna be a lot of people in Sarah Sabaticki's office learning the art of couponing.
There you go. Thank you. Item G is Superintendent CEO's business. Mrs. Osman.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve all items listed in the superintendent's business consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
I'll give you some highlights of personnel. So we have Elise Bicudo Delventhal. She voluntarily chose to go from high school to middle school. She is so excited about this change, and we're just so grateful for her accepting this opportunity and helping us with that. We also will have Tammy Brown as the elementary summer school session administrator. We have a new coach, Emma Bertowski, assistant coach for the middle school. We also have a person on leave of absence. And we have a few resignations. We also have a retirement. We would like to congratulate Joyce Powers, who is secretary at the high school for 27 district, and so we thank her so much for that. And then, of course, we always appreciate our volunteers and coaches and those that support us, and we have some substitutes as well. And then we have a job description change. As we are opening our preschool on site in the district, we are looking at modifying a job description to kind of blend the EL service for English learners and preschool specialists. So we're bringing those two roles together and just trying to be, supportive of the programs and being fiscally responsible with that. And then that position would be reflected in the administrator handbook for number 5. Number 6 is this agreement with the Educational Service Center Summit County gives us the opportunity to hire different workers and employees that augment and support us. So for example, we have a EL liaison, Sangeeta, who helps us. And so that gives us an opportunity through the ESC to go ahead and make those decisions. And then we also have the service plan. This is an annual approval where we purchase a variety of services through the Summit ESC, and so the funding of that plan. And then the service agreement with the Akron Children's Hospital, this is to support nursing for our Washington DC trip. And then again, with the Summit ESC, this is to provide, let me see, this one is, yes, this is the preschool team to help us with assessment for students who are turning 3 at a certain age, and then there is a timeline we must meet for that assessment. So we are hiring. We're really excited for the people that are coming on board. This is something that is typically in the cost for what we pay the ESC, because they also, will do summer assessments typically for us. But now it's outside of that because we're starting to take that on our own. And then the other Summit ESC, this is for a specialized thing. This is for the augmentative and alternative communication support for students. And the impracticality transportation for a few students there. And lastly, Ohio School Council support for 360 maps of our district for first responders, where it takes those pictures of all our schools.
Can we ask Mr. Hutch to talk about that one a little bit, because it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I've seen it done before, it's
Ohio
great.
School Council is going to come in and take 360 pictures of every space, 360-degree pictures of every space in our buildings, and plot them onto our floor plans and improve our floor plans, and those that we can quickly share with first responders, regardless of agency. We'll always share them with our local police, but in a mass situation, we may have an agency we don't typically partner with, and we can quickly just share a link with those agencies. So it gives first responders a chance to better visualize our buildings before they come in. It also gives us better floor plans for our buildings.
I think that's awesome and a great safety enhancement. And not only that, I was amazed by how cheap it was.
Yeah.
Like $3,000 for something that will make our students safer in the case of an emergency that we hope doesn't happen. So I think that's a great investment in safety for our district. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I just want to mention that Ms. Bakuto Deventhal, that we're so grateful, she's moving down to middle school because of the 612 building, so that we can expand our Spanish program into the middle school as one of the educational expansions that we're able to do in this new 612 building. So that's really exciting.
Awesome.
That is exciting.
And I just want to ask Ms. Stoikoi, on these ESC assessment for the pre-K early intervention assessments, do you have that tracked on our budget?
I will, yeah, so
Okay.
these will be, so I've created like a separate budget for preschool with
Okay.
its own code so that we can track that over the next year pretty easily, kind of similar, not exactly the same, but similar to emergency levy, so that it's all within its own, preschool will have its own OPU. So, you know, like, in our account code, so that we can just quickly run it and see what
What
those
the
costs
actual
are.
cost is. Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you. Ms. Stovall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to item H, Superintendent CEO's business.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure to be helping out and supporting the school district, so thank you again for allowing me this opportunity. We last night had our gifted parent nights for our elementary, middle, and high school. We were here in the media center, and Ms. Belko did a nice job of highlighting student programming and opportunities at the high school, and what that looks like is, even as parents of children in elementary school, kind of planning forward. So that was a wonderful opportunity. She also has her 24 math game coming up April 5th. That's a Saturday from 1 to 3. We also have literacy night at the library. We've been partnering with the library. We meet with the library about once a month, and we plan a variety of activities, whether that's some grant opportunities or working on this event. Last year, we had hundreds of children and families come to that. It was a really popular event, so we're excited. We hope that we have great weather and that continues. We're starting preschool registration starting tomorrow. We started already with our students that were at the Summit ESC preschool program, and so we've already sent out information to them. And so we'll now be, after that survey, we'll be hopefully opening that up for other students. We also, on April 9th, at the board meeting coming up, there will be a lot more student recognition, athletes, scholastic key winners, and musicians. So that will be a fun night for the board to see some other amazing students. And our Tiger Tapestries was this past Saturday. We had over a few hundred people. We had amazing performances. It was set up beautifully, so a shout out to Ms. Stewart and Mr. Jones and Sarah Sabatiki. I think they were the 3 ringleaders, and they really did an amazing job. And many of our administrators and board members and people were there to support that, and so I think everybody was very proud of that accomplishment. So we thank them for that. Thank you.
Thank you. It was, you mentioned the 24
Yes.
thing. I was trying to do that myself at Tiger Tapestries. It is hard. It's hard. It is. It's
My
very,
nephew solved that.
of course he did. He's a smarty. Oh, smart. Yeah. No, it was fun.
Good,
Yes.
good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item I, board business. Number 1 is resolution for OS-08SAA. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution to allow the Cuyahoga Falls City School District to participate in the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just note that once we're in a 612 building, we'll actually save money because we only have to pay for 1 middle school.
Yes.
I like a cost saving.
Yay. Thank you, Ms. Stover. Would you please call the roll?
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye. Item 2 is contract for services. Garland DBS Incorporated is recommended that the Board of Education approve the contract and addendum between Garland DBS Incorporated and the Cuyahoga Falls City School District.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So this is for DeWitt, correct?
Yes, this is for the roofing. Yes,
Portion of,
Mr.
DeWitt.
Did you want to speak on that at all, Mr. Coe?
Yeah, there's about 6 separate sections that we get, 2 of which we did replace in 2018. We're gonna be doing 3 with this project. There'll be 1 very small area that needs to be done over custodian area. We only had $240,000 to spend, so that is a large chunk of what this is gonna cover. So we're gonna be in very good shape to do it.
And then this is based off of roofing studies that you just had done, correct?
Well, no, absolutely, yes. We currently have a leak in one of these sections right now.
Okay.
And these roofs are very, very old, so these are being restored, they're not being replaced. If they were being replaced, it would be double the amount that you see here, these sections.
And how long would you expect it to last
10
with a?
years. There's a guarantee for 10 years. They last much longer, but the guarantee is 10 years.
And then Richardson, we don't need to worry about with this because that's a separate issue, correct?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay, and, but that's being addressed, correct?
Yes, we're gonna be doing a scan on Richardson to see where these leaks could be coming from, because that roof was done, and we even hired, we hired the contractor. I think we may have had, and we're gonna find this out, when we did the rooftop units, there may have been some things placed on that roof that penetrated it. But, we're gonna be doing a roof scan there very shortly to find out where everything is, possibly water could be coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, Ms. Stokely, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 3 is handbook for the elementary schools. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopts the handbook for the elementary schools for the 2025-2026 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, Ms. Stokely, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye. Item 4 is the handbook for the secondary schools. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the handbook for the secondary schools for the 2025-2026 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Stokely, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Item F is the resolution for reduction in force. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves the resolution to implement an administrative reduction in force.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion on this. You know that this is in line with the administrative, with the, what we approved for the preschool and administrative, like kind of merging the two. So we have to do a reduction in force for the previous position.
That's one of
So
them.
that's one of,
Yeah. And the other two, it's aligned with our new campus and our financial recovery plan.
yes.
It never feels good.
Any more discussion? Okay, Ms. Stokely, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Item 6 is policies, their first reading. There are a lot for first read. And should read down the list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to go down the list of our first reads. Section B, School Board Governments and Operations, BCE Board Committees. Section D, Fiscal Management, DECA, Administration of Federal Grant Funds, DJF, Purchasing Procedures, DJF-R, Purchasing Procedures. Section E, Support Services, EDE, Computer Online Services, Acceptable Use and Internet Safety. Section G, Personnel, GBH, Staff Student Relations. Section I, Instruction, IGAH-IGAI, Family Life Education, Sex Education. IGBA, Programs for Students with Disabilities. IGBLA, Promoting Parental Involvement. IGCH-R, College Credit Plus. IJ, Guidance Program. IKF, Graduation Requirements. Section J for students, JECB, admission of non-resident students, JECBB, interdistrict enrollment, JEFB, release time for religious instruction, JGE, student expulsion, JHC, student health services and requirements, JHCA, physical examinations of students, JHCD, non-administration of medicines, JHCD-R-1, administering medicine to students, JHF, student safety, JHG, reporting child abuse and mandatory training, Section K, school community relations, KBA, public rights to know. Whew. I would just like to give a huge thank you to Mr. Gomez and Mrs. Schaefer, who are on the policy committee, that worked very tirelessly and a very long meeting on all of these policies and the revisions that needed to be made. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to highlight a couple. There's a lot there, but I think there's a few that stand out. Student expulsion, there's a lot of green added language on that. It's all permissive language that we chose to add, so none of the stuff that's added is required to be done, but it's options that our superintendent can have. So that's important for the board members when you're reviewing that. But it gives her options in terms of requiring students to do certain rehabilitation and to create certain plans for students if they're expelled that they would have to follow in order to come back to school. And so as a district, we felt that that was something good that we would want to allow our superintendent the ability to exercise. So that's one. Another one is inter-district open enrollment. There's a lot of changes to that one regarding law about active duty enrollment in military. That's a change in law. There's additional changes that were brought to us that as a policy committee we asked for more data on before we bring to the full board for consideration. So there may be additional changes to JECBB on inter-district open enrollment, but we're just evaluating all the impacts that that could have from data before we bring it to the full board. So keep an eye out on that one. And then programs for students with disabilities. Right now, you're just seeing the policy that says by resolution we will adopt the policies and procedures. At the next meeting, when we go to a second read, we will actually bring forth the actual resolution, because we can't adopt the resolution until we adopt the policy. And Ms. Zeman can speak to that. If she's good with her speaking now, Ms. Coco?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Do you want me to now?
Yeah, she can highlight it because there's a lot to this.
Yeah, so really, we're gonna adopt, or we're proposing to adopt, the special education model policies and procedures that have been developed by the state. There are some recommendations, that some of the language we changed in a few sections. So one is about destruction of educational records. The language that's in the model policy is a little bit ambiguous, so we wanted to make sure that,
So then that policy will come for second read, and then we will, as policy committee, we suggest that the next action be the actual approval of the resolution at our next board meeting. That Ms. Zeman has recommended to us. So it's kind of an unusual thing from a policy perspective, so we wanted to make sure everyone had a little understanding before you saw that, because it's not really what we bring from policy. We don't really bring you resolutions, but we wanted to make sure everyone understood that before you saw that. We'll also be bringing in the future, Ms. Stoyko is working on a new inventory policy, and it's going to be pretty much totally different than the current one we have, so keep an eye out on that. And then I would bring your attention to policy JEFB. It's a new policy for our district because it was optional before. Release time for religious instruction. We spent a lot of time on this one, and we tried to personalize it for what we think will work best if someone brings this forth in our district. But we're open to additional edits. I know there's people in the community that have thoughts on this. Or if our education association has thoughts on how this could be less disruptive, we're open to their thoughts on this policy as well before it comes up for approval. We're not the experts on release time in religious instruction, and we've never had a policy on this before in our district. So this is our first stab at it and trying to make it, we have to have a policy that in some way permits it, but trying to make it as non-disruptive as possible. So please bring suggestions or amendments if there are ways to make it better. And then IGBLA is brand new policy as well. This is not one that we can really change at all because it all comes from state law. It's House Bill 8. But I would bring your attention to policy IGBL, which is policy we already have, which is talks about how we already promote parental involvement in our district. And so I think it's important to note that we already have a policy on this. We have to have this new fancy policy because of state law. So we've been promoting parental involvement in our district for a very long time and encouraging parental involvement in our district for a very long time. We just are required to adopt this policy because of House Bill 8. We had a lot of conversation about what this does and does not require our staff to do going forward. And I think it was helpful conversation because the law is very specific, almost to its own fault in what it does and does not say. Like, for instance, it says that if a student asks to be called by different pronouns, that is something that you have to notify a parent about. And so we went over the question, policy committee. If that happens, the law says you have to notify them. The law lays it out literally in the law. So there's no way to get around that, whether you like that or not. And people have their own opinions about that. But what the law doesn't say that if separate and apart from that, someone comes up to you and asks to be called by a different name, there's no obligation to notify a parent about that. And we talked about nicknames and different things like that. So the law is too specific to its own fault because I think some of the things that it intends to do, it doesn't actually do. So, and from that, our administrators are going to work to give guidance to our families and to our staff on how this will work going forward to try to make sure they understand what this is. Because one of the things our families will see is these sexuality content warnings, which will probably be very startling for some of our families. But it defines what sexuality content is. So anytime that could come up, we have to send those notices out. And then obviously our staff have concerns because they want to make sure that whatever our personal opinions may be, that we're complying with this law, because as part of this law, there's this whole concerns and appeals procedures, and obviously we want to do whatever we can to make sure our staff understand the law so that they are protected, because we didn't pass this law, but we have to pass this policy, and we want to make sure that our staff understand what it means and what it doesn't mean, and that they're protected as well, so that they can go about doing what they're actually here to do, which is educate our students.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
And lastly, I promised I'd talk about the DEIB policy, because that's the last policy we talked about, and I think we spent the most time on. So that policy is with our legal counsel right now for review, and for right now, we've renamed it our Culture of Caring and Belonging policy, because that's, we believe, until our legal counsel tells us otherwise, that's a legal thing to call it. And we went line by line, word by word through the policy on what we could and couldn't keep. And once we hear back from legal, we felt that we ended up with a pretty good product in terms of what we were able to keep, and we kept as much as we could, reworded some things. So waiting to hear back from legal counsel on how well we did on that. And now you know why it was such a long meeting.
Yes. Thank you for all your hard work on everything, and just to be clear, we do not have the DEIB policy on for this,
No.
for the reasons that Mr. Gomez stated. We do not have that on the agenda yet, pending legal review. So, just for clarification for those listening. Right, I think that's item 7, discussion, future of facilities. We had committed to put this back on our agenda after we had it on for board discussion last month, knowing that it's something that is going to need to be revisited and top of mind for all of us as we move forward, making decisions and having an open discussion and transparent discussion with all of us is the only way to do it and the only way we will do it. So we're kind of revisiting this and going back to, first of all, data and where we're at with our data, what we have as kind of up against what was requested at the last meeting, and the items that we still need to get, and if board members have new pieces of data that they feel they need for our buildings as we move through this decision-making process. So I'd like to open it up. I know that as far as the data that was requested at the last meeting, I think the piece outstanding would be, Ms. White, you had requested for the bus data as how far the students would be traveling. And I know, Mr. Gomez, you wanted some data that kind of coincides with that, with elementary buildings and how far they would be from their closest building. I don't know if you want to recap that.
So I guess I'm interested in currently how far a student is now from their elementary building, to get that, like, I think we need to like level set that information on like where we are today with the students we have, how far are our students from their assigned elementary building. And then say I'll use the school that my nephews go to. If you eliminate Lincoln, how far would someone then be from
Their two closest schools.
their two closest schools? Because we're only gonna have one 612 building and then an elementary building. So how far would they be? Because one of the things we're known for is our community schools. So how far would they be from that sense of community? And then do that for each of the elementary schools. And I know we can't do that for all future students, but I guess we can do it based on who we have now, and that gives us kind of a picture, because our boundaries are only what our boundaries are. So it can only vary by so much, you know. I mean, it could vary by a little bit here and a little bit there, but it can only vary by so much.
And I think that piece ties into and would be kind of hooked on with the data that Ms. White
Yeah.
ask for because theoretically, the students that would be the furthest the furthest distance away from that elementary would be a student that would be getting bused as well. So, I think that we're looking into whether or not that's data that we can somehow provide, or if that's a piece, determining whether that's something that we need to have someone outside our.
Can I ask a question? Because I don't think I understand. I don't think I understand what you're asking.
Me?
Yeah, what, Mr. Gomez, what you're asking. So are you asking for what the distance is, the furthest distance from their home elementary school?
No,
that you,
from their home to a school.
to
So if
to
all
their
these
assigned
kids that go to
school?
Lincoln don't have Lincoln anymore, how far is it to a school now?
Are you for everyone or just from Lincoln? Are you just using Lincoln? So that's a lot, because that's a lot of people then to look at.
run a model from every elementary
From every elementary. I'm picking on Lincoln because it's where my nephews go, so people
Can you
know
use
that I'm
like
not.
TransFinder to
People
do
know that
that?
I'm not picking on any school because it's where my nephews
Okay.
go, so
Okay.
obviously I have affection for
All right,
that
okay,
school.
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
The problem with TransFinder is that I think that we have the data for the students that are getting bused, and that data would change, and we wouldn't necessarily have that data for students that aren't currently being bused if it meant that they needed to be bused somewhere else.
So we'd have to
If that
run
makes
like
sense.
new scenarios, and then we'd run those scenarios and kind of get like an average, like
I mean, you could probably
kind of like
just
a cluster
add-
model.
Just add one or two students in that like live close to the school, like to, do you know what I mean?
I'm sorry?
If you add, probably if the students that live closest to the school that you're looking at, that you're like mocking that's closing, then that would be probably the furthest distance then to them.
Not necessarily, cause like the reality is like, at Preston, the farthest is gonna be somebody that lives at Hunter's Lake probably.
But that's a priority on the bus,
True.
yeah.
There's
So if you just add some students like around the school area to like your,
So we can look at the software and see what it can run for us, but we also, there's a gentleman that works with Ohio School Council that will sometimes consult at a very inexpensive rate, who knows Margie really well and can also just help her how to use that software well. So we're gonna kind of dive into it and see what can we do on our own with the software, and then, you know, if we needed some guidance on it, but we should be able to run those scenarios.
And the other thing is like, right where the border, Ms. Cocono says, right where the border between Richardson and DeWitt cuts off, it's almost equidistant between Richardson and DeWitt.
It is.
So I don't know if those people would get picked up on busing for either.
those people used to go to grant school.
But it is almost equidistant, like right where it gets cut off.
It is.
You know, when you think about where some of our cuts and the boundaries are.
Yeah, and I think it's 12th and 13th Street over there is where that cuts.
And it's almost
And it's
like
almost
equidistant to get to either or. And like the DeWitt Silver Lake split is like over by Front Street and Third Street. So some of our splits are interesting when you actually start looking at the boundary. Like Silver Lake comes up on Third Street by where it goes one way, and then it becomes DeWitt.
I don't know if this is getting too in the weeds for us as a board, or if it's something that would kind of help and go along with requesting this data. Would it be helpful for any of you to see what our current boundaries are with the schools? Just, I mean, I know that I've seen
Yeah, I
that
can take
data
that information
before,
for
but
us.
kind of to see what we currently have for the boundaries. It might make it more, I'm a visual person, so it might make it more visual
absolutely.
for us.
That's good.
And I know that's data we already have and could probably just get thrown in our Friday notes even, so.
Having one middle school make a lot of the boundary splits better. So when the Price people get split up between the middle schools and the Lincoln people get split between Bullock and Roberts, that all that stuff won't happen anymore.
I will warn you with those boundaries, get your magnifying glass. Patty, you're gonna need your magnifying, I'm gonna need it too.
Okay.
Those of us
I
with
mean, I
readers.
will too. Let's just
So.
be
I'm on the far side between Lincoln and Richardson. I'm not far from the split.
Yeah, you're right, on the other side. Okay.
I live on the 221, 223 boundary.
And then, as far as I know, we had discussed, the data for, back in March, Abby had done a presentation of the possible sites for new buildings. And so we all have that data. And I know that we had brought up, because this is a piece that we have to consider as future sites and not limiting the, not just us, but future board members and future boards in any decisions that would be made as far as, the building of new buildings in the future for our elementary. We do have the data of what would it cost for, what would it be now as opposed to when that last study was done, which I believe was in 2018. And Mr. Bugatti had stated in April is when OFCC will update those to basically now numbers for the costs.
Yeah, we have 2024 cost set numbers now. I gave the OFCC some numbers that showed upgrades in our roofs that they didn't have, LED lighting, and some boilers we've had replaced, and actually the air conditioning that we've had put in already. So he'll plug those numbers in and then come up with the 2025 cost set, and see where we stand as far as renovate versus rebuild. But I will tell you that I can't find them here now. I can't pull them up. OFCC showed it to me, and we were in the upper 80s and 90s.
Percentage-wise,
Percentage-wise.
for all buildings?
Yeah, well, for the elementaries.
Yeah,
For
that's
all
what I
six
said.
For the
elementaries.
elementaries, and
Right.
the cost, as you can imagine, has gone up immensely since 2018. And again, it's gonna go up even higher when they come out with the 2024 numbers. I'm sorry, with the 2025 numbers in April. And I don't see there being much of an impact on the improvements that we made. To
Not
get us
enough to get it to 60, is it 66%?
Below 66, below 66%, so, but, I will ask them for those numbers again in April, and, I'll also ask them to make sure that we can understand where we are percentage-wise with each building.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Bugatti.
Aren't there only 2 non-buildable sites though?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you
Aren't
said.
there only 2 non-buildable sites?
2 non-buildable? What'd you say?
Aren't there only 2 non-buildable sites?
Like to replace on the site?
DeWitt
That we
and,
can't,
Yeah.
DeWitt
it's
and
probably not
Price.
enough
DeWitt and
Parking.
Price, yes,
So we know
There
that.
won't be enough
Yes.
parking.
yes. Yeah, and that's data that Abby had
Yeah.
presented back in March, so we have that piece of data of the non-buildable sites along with what, kind of what could be on the other sites was included in that presentation as well. Along with that, on that data, there was a kind of overhead map that was given that is a good, it's kind of a bird's eye view of where our elementaries sit within our city, which I think is a good piece of data to have, to look at. When you're talking about this building here, to see that bird's eye view of, if you close this one, wow, there's this much land, or this one, which would tie into the furthest a student would have to go, but it is a quick snapshot of that, and that was also in that 2018 presentation as well.
So, I have a quick question for Mr. Bugatti. With our elementary buildings, the OFCC then wouldn't help us to renovate, only to build new.
No, because we're over that 66%, we would
Right,
lose.
that's
I believe it's 37% that they're giving us now.
right, and so any building that is higher than that, they're not gonna put money into to renovate. Is that correct? Okay. Okay.
Okay, is
Can
there,
we get another copy of that 2018 report maybe sent to us?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Not the 2018. What year did
Year-
Abby present?
it was in
2023, 2024?
2024, it was in
Yeah,
March or April, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm sure
Go
I've
back and find
recycled
that
that
date.
by now.
So,
I think I still,
yeah,
I think
I think I have it.
I
The one
think I
that
do too,
Addie's-
but I'm
I think
not
I still
sure.
have it.
So it'd be nice to have again.
I think I still have it.
I think I do too, but yeah.
Yes, it was either March or April of 2024, I think it was March.
And then can we get a hard copy of the enrollment analysis that was just done? Because I think we only got an email of it. It'd be nice to like finger through that. That would be good data too. And I think
Okay.
the one thing that I shared just with Ms. Coco, so I'll bring it up here is, and I don't know how, I think it's important data and I don't know how you quantify it. But I think like the community support that like a building gets and or would lose, I think is important too. And I don't know how you quantify that. And I'm open to ways to quantify that. But I think like if we close this building, what do we lose in terms of community support for closing this building as opposed to this building or this building or this building? Not just us, but our students in the building. That's like, I'm not worried about us personally, but like our students in that building. Like, what is the community support that goes into
Yeah.
Are you,
this building more so than another building? And maybe they're all equal. I don't know the answer because I don't know how to quantify it yet.
you looking at, both monetarily and, you know, physically?
Like give back or
Right,
just
like
participation?
community
Yeah, there you go.
financial support outside that they support, like through PTOs, PTAs, like those kinds of things, or communities support as far as like people who come in and volunteer in the buildings, attend events.
I think that's
Both?
more important than the finances. Some of our districts are a little wealthier than
Right,
others, so I
right.
don't know.
Well, that's what, I
that
was
that
trying
would-
to clarify exactly what
Right.
we're trying to,
Yeah, I just think like, yeah, is there volunteers? Are there volunteers? Like, some of our buildings have community partnerships with, like organizations nearby or like different things. What would be the loss? Like if we pull out of this neighborhood, what is the loss of community support that we're having? Like we hear about, like the DAR has connection to this building and this building. Asia Inc. has connections with this building and this building, and all those different things. So how do we quantify all the connections and supports that a building has? Because if we take this building out, do we lose all of that, or can we be proactive in making sure that we can redistribute that across our district? Because if we're not aware of what supports a building has, then we're at risk of losing them and also turning people off to our district.
that'd be something that the administrators in each building would maybe possibly have a list, a survey of the administrators. Don't wanna put things on their plates, but they might be able to quickly,
Yeah.
they probably already have a running list somewhere. Any other data, from a data standpoint?
I just thank you, Mr. Bugatti, for the facilities data you did get over. That's
Yeah.
very well put together, and a lot of the stuff I was looking for was right in there too, so I appreciate
I have
that.
to say that, thank you to Alex Orris and
Mhm. Great,
for taking numbers and putting everything together for
awesome.
for us. He's obviously very good at what he does, so I appreciate his help as well.
Thank you, thank you.
big decision and it's a lot of team effort.
It is.
We
Yes.
ask a lot of questions and we ask for a lot of things, so I appreciate your willingness to get that.
Great. So that's the data piece. Did we want to touch at all on the community engagement piece? Do we have anything new right now to update on that part?
Well, yeah, well, we went to the Silver Lake Planning and Zoning meeting.
That was a good meeting.
And I think one of the things that they asked that I think we should talk about was whether or not we've made the decision to close a building. And the honest answer is technically we have not made the decision to close a building. So I think as a board, we're trying to have two conversations at once. We're trying to talk about what building we might close, but we haven't come to terms yet with, are we closing a building? We haven't said that, and we haven't made that decision. So I think we need to come to terms with that decision so that we can honestly then go forth with the second decision, if that's the direction that we're choosing to lead in. But I thought that that was, when they were asking that question, like, no, we never said
No, we haven't.
we are closing a building. But I think it is somewhat unfair to the community to keep going down a process that can lead to uncertainty and uncomfortableness about whether or not their building's gonna close when we haven't even decided if we're closing a building. I think it's kind of unfair. So I feel like we need to decide, are we going to close a building? And then have the honest conversation about what we need to make the decision about what building to close. Or then just take a step back and say, what information or data do we need to make the decision that we're gonna close a building? Because it seems like we're trying to do two things at once, and I think that's not usually a setup for success.
I agree with that. I think that the first step is to decide, for all of us to have that conversation and decide if we are indeed closing a building. And if that's the route that we're all, I don't want to use the word comfortable because that's not something that I think any of us that are sitting up here are comfortable with as something that we want to do. But I think we need to come to terms and all decide if that's necessary from our financial position that we're in.
Can I throw another wrench in too? So my brain is working I think in a different way. So I'm thinking about, in the future, rebuilding in the elementaries. So in the future, are we going to build, how many elementary schools are we gonna, what's our projected enrollment, how many elementary schools are we gonna need? So it would make sense to me to see how many elementaries we are gonna need when we rebuild elementaries. Where are good sites for those going to be? So if we end up financially needing to close one, and we sell the site, we're like, oh, that would have been a great site to put something somewhere. I hate to, make a decision now that in a few years, like, gosh, I wish we still had that, because we're not getting property back.
No.
And especially with the changes in the state budget about selling property and how we have to get rid of properties, which could really hurt us financially also. Like, we can't just hold on to things indefinitely. Like, we've had that Sill property for 100 trillion years.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to hold on to it like that. So,
And we obviously
Potentially.
don't want to have closed, empty buildings
I know that we,
anywhere.
we don't.
even just the empty property.
Right.
At the empty land, we would, I mean, I know we don't wanna we've been hesitant to make decisions for future boards because we're not gonna, we might not be here when it's time to build the new schools, but it would be nice to kinda say, this is what we think the plan is gonna be, and we think this is what it's gonna, I think it's smart to have a game plan for the future before we start thinking about closing buildings and selling
Well,
it off.
I think that no matter what our decision was as far as what building we were to close and properties, I think that that would kind of coincide with which building, not so much are we closing one. Unless you're saying that you're not confident in the fact that all 6 of our properties we need to keep. If that makes sense.
I don't know.
All 6, where our current 6 elementary schools are.
I don't know.
Unless you're not confident that all 6 of those
What-
sites are things that we need.
What would be our model for the future for elementaries? Do we need 6 elementary schools? Do we
It
need
would
3
not be
elementary
6.
It
schools?
will
We
not
would
be
not
six.
get
Do we
funded.
need 5? Do
We
we need
wouldn't get
4? I
funded
don't
for
know.
6.
4 maximum,
3 maybe.
3 minimum, 3 to 4.
Yeah.
That we know.
Right.
We know that. It's gonna be 3 to 4. And we know that,
So if it's 4, what would 4
we know that
4
these,
look like?
we know that these are buildable sites. We know that Lincoln is a buildable site. We know that Preston is a buildable site. We know that Richardson is a buildable site. We know that Silver Lake is a buildable site with
With a caveat.
with variances. And we know that the Sill site is a buildable site. We know that Price and DeWitt are not buildable sites.
Yeah, that's true.
But a lot of those are close to each other. So you wouldn't build a site at Preston and Sill.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you would, I don't know, but they're like 3 blocks from each other. Would you put 2
I don't
schools?
think we would. Maybe a future board would. I don't think we would.
So it would be nice to kind of have, I mean, not maybe a committal, but just kind of in our head, like, this is so like, looking at the city from a top and say, these are buildable sites, this is where potentially we would put schools. I'd hate to leave a dark spot in the city where there's no school that we've gotten rid of.
Right.
And I think that would be part of the discussion of which building.
Yeah.
More so than are we closing one.
So if we do financially think we need to close a building, I think we need to also look to the future, like, what is gonna be our model also? So that we are looking way into the future too. I know it's a lot.
It is a lot.
I think
Yeah,
we
it is.
need to make this decision, whatever this is, and then probably create that committee of community to do the pre-bond work on a master facility plan. But I don't think it's fair to create that committee and say, we need your help to help us decide which building to close, cause I feel like that's a board decision.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
fun part is the community's work with us. The hard part is our job.
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
Very.
yeah.
And our job will be making that decision in a way that doesn't tie future boards and
Either way, either way.
Correct.
I don't wanna
Which I know.
handicap the future boards.
It's a very tall ask,
Yes.
a very daunting task, and but that's why we're discussing again and again and again on it. Because it encompasses a lot of hypotheticals and a lot of things that we are not in a position here as a board to make decisions on future things. We can have those hypotheticals, but we can't actually make those decisions. What we have in front of us is what we're tasked with. And I agree with Mr. Gomez, the first part of that task is, are we comfortable all saying that, yes, we need to close the building?
Well, again, it's dependent on our budget. You know, so I think that was in Ms. Stoicoy's presentation that she gave us to close a building.
Right.
Is that correct? Yeah. So,
So,
that's, I know,
You know what other data I
we
need?
could wait 2 years.
I don't think we can wait 2 years.
I know, I'm just
Because I
kidding.
think what we said before was,
Yeah, we can't, I
we
know.
didn't wanna do this until we had to, and I
Yeah,
think now.
now we have to.
Now we have to, so I think that kinda answers that piece, is that we have to, but we don't want to, and that we're giving ourselves this runway in which to do it. But I think one of the pieces we need is, in terms of student enrollment, do we have, what's the student enrollment look like? And where would they fit? And what class size numbers outside of the contractual numbers that we have at certain numbers, what class size numbers are we not gonna go above? Because I think that's important too, when you say you're gonna go down. We know that we have some, across all of our elementary schools, very small class sizes. So that doesn't mean we're gonna go up to 30 kids if we close an elementary school, because that goes against things that we all believe in. So I think that's something that we need to take into consideration as well, is class sizes. And I don't think this would be presented to us if we thought that that would happen, but at the same time, I think that needs to be said, that we have to think about what our maximum class sizes will be in those non-certified agreement classes.
I think we also have to think about, the buildings that are, how do I wanna put this, academically excellent. It might not be as important as other things, but some of our buildings do better too, so something maybe to look at there. I don't know, it's gonna be hard to do, hard decisions.
Well,
Does that have to do with the building itself though, or that's with the educators?
Well, it might be the area and the educators, yes, and the support. So it all kind of ties in, I believe, with, but I think it's something to look at, just to see. I don't know.
well, and when you say future building sites, if we say we want an east side building, you could put Preston on the table, and I went to Preston, so I have great affection for it, but I'm trying to be as impartial as possible. We could say, hey, we're leaving an east side buildable site at Sill, so, hey, we're gonna take a hard look at Preston too, so.
Right.
But like I said before, my concern is those Hunters Lake people and how far, a building would be for them.
Right, exactly.
Cause Price is a little bit of a hike from there, and we know the high school's not exactly close to Hunters Lake. So that distance piece is concerning to me.
Okay.
Are we keeping
So-
open the, high school site when we leave this? Cause it will be empty and it's kinda in the center of the town. I'm just wondering if I know we wanna sell it, cause it's profitable to sell. But if we can't get what we want, maybe it could be a future site for an elementary. I don't know. I'm just kinda throwing it out there. I don't know.
Big elementary.
Well, you would tear.
Well, I think our hope is to sell because
I
we
do
don't wanna
too.
have to
No.
maintain it.
I know, I realize that, but if we can't get enough value, I don't know. Again, it's just
Well,
an
I don't
idea.
wanna I don't wanna maintain this
No,
building.
I don't
No,
think
I
that
don't either.
that's probably
I
a
know.
realistic
doesn't wanna
expectation
maintain
at
this
all.
building.
At all.
Proposed changes
Yeah.
in the law,
It's not really a feasible, yeah, it's not
Okay.
really a
Plus,
feasible
if-
option
if-
for us.
Yes,
that.
because you can't let it
Needs to-
sit.
No, you don't wanna have empty buildings.
And I think the amount of people that have already asked for tours from Dr. Selico,
I
knowing that
hope, yeah.
this will be for sale at some point, I think we'll
And
think it'll
I
sell.
hope that's true.
Fingers crossed.
Yep, absolutely. Are we looking
So
to include the preschool also? Because we don't have much at Schnee, and we could probably sell that down the road. So where would we maybe cite a preschool? Is that something that we're going to consider also?
I think we talked about potentially, when, we were looking, when we relocated central office, that when we go into this elementary phase, that we would look perhaps at the potential of using one of the old elementary buildings and refurbishing that for like central office slash preschool.
But that
If I
wouldn't be
recall.
until we built new elementaries.
Correct.
Right, okay.
As like a LFI option.
Right, because that would have to get funded for the remodeling and, you know, yeah.
Because it will not fund
No.
preschool. So.
And no matter where we were to move that, it would require money for us to be able to make a building fit for like another spot. We would have to put money into it, which at this point is not, we're not trying to put money into things, we're trying to go the other direction here, so.
True. Just throwing ideas.
Okay, so I think first order of business is deciding if, yes, we're closing a building, is, I'm deferring to Mr. Gomez on this. Is this a agenda item that we put on and vote on, or is this just a discussion item? Or how exactly would that work, a resolution?
I think it should be something that we vote on, just so that there's no lack of clarity to the community in what action that we're taking. It is the intention of the board to close an elementary building. I don't think we have a set date in mind, and I don't think we should put a date on it because that's not set. But if that is what we are going to do, I think we should make it clear to the community that if we get to the point that that's the decision that we have made, I think we should make it clear to the community that that's the decision that we've made.
I agree. Okay, and I think we've given Mrs. Hausman a long enough list of more data that we need.
Can I just ask one clarifying question about the student enrollment data? Are you looking for the class size number, but are you also looking for scenarios based on schools that are open or closed?
Would that be a lot of work and hard to get as opposed to an average class size if we were to close one? Because, I mean, I think we know that if you closed one, students would get moved to where an average class
So we can tell you
size.
kind of like the comfort of how that would fit, I guess,
Right.
and how that would impact just the overall remaining buildings more in general. But we won't build a scenario if the school closes, that happens. We can, we could do something more in general, that would be fine.
I don't know, that would be my suggestion
Is that
for
okay?
that, just because that would get
Okay.
really in-depth and tedious for you guys to do it another way. Or really, in some ways, there wouldn't even be any way to do that without knowing specifically
Right,
what we were
right.
closing and how things.
But we can give you some averages,
So.
what it would look like based on what we know today. Okay.
Are you good with that?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I think once we get that data and then, when we get to the point that we're comfortable, and if that's what we're doing is passing a resolution, then with this data that we've requested, then we can start the conversation of which building. And I think along with that which building comes that next piece of, that is when the engagement with the community and what exactly and how we're exactly engaging the community needs to be. Not that people aren't engaging with us and we're engaging with everyone. We went to the Silver Lake meeting the other night and, but I think that that's when we're going to need to be more specific with how, when and where would be once we make that first step and decision that that's what we're doing. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that, but.
That's good. That's good.
So we would wait for the survey maybe till summer or fall.
I don't know that I'm comfortable right now, like, when I say summer for a survey, I don't even personally, I was trying to think of how we would word what we want for community engagement for a survey. And at this moment, I'm not sure that we have what we need to engage and ask the correct questions for the community, personally. Like, I don't know, does that make sense? I think that we need to narrow down exact for community engagement and for the survey and to get that feedback before we were to have the community meetings. We need to have more of a direction to go than what we currently have, because we're still at the collecting data point.
I hear what you're saying, but I also can hear the community saying this. You're coming to me talking about closing my building. I didn't even know you were talking about closing a building.
No, yeah, but I'm saying I don't know about engaging the community on which building if we haven't even come to a decision as a board that we're closing one.
But we need to make sure we're getting out the information about the financial situation leading us to discussing this decision at least.
Oh, I 100%
So maybe
agree
not
with
the
that.
survey piece,
No,
but we need to make sure
100%
the
that.
community
Yes.
as a whole is aware of the conversations we're having.
Yes.
Because we
No.
can't come to them with a survey about specific data for buildings and them say, I didn't even know you were talking about this.
That is going out in the spring roar that, she included basically, information about, there was a discussion of, what we're facing and, you know, the plan. So that's gonna be out first, second week of April in houses.
It's similar to what was in, if you read the Tiger Tales, and how it kind of went over that, the presentation I gave, which was, here's what we did within the financial recovery plan, and then here are some things we're considering, as potential options to further, reduce our deficit, for, our expenditures.
Is there included in that, because I know it's more condensed, obviously, than you would have. Is there included in that, like, a link or a QR code or something that would bring up the full presentation for them, for the
We can
5-year
put that,
forecast and?
because those are on my section of the website. I have the presentation that I gave
Right.
is out there, and then the most, the last 2 forecasts of November and last May.
And I know, like, for me, I know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
District, go over, treasure, link, da-da. But for the community to easily find that after they're reading the roar, could we include a link or some maybe a QR code or something that they could easily get to that information?
Probably just a QR code, because there's a couple different
Yeah.
places, and I don't wanna put a bunch of links, which they obviously can't.
I think that would be helpful for people to be able to access that quickly. No offense against you, Ms. Stokely, but not everybody goes to the treasure link on the.
What? It's not what I was told.
Can I make one suggestion? Under, like, where you said next steps, it says potential community discussions on levy proposals and school closures. Is it a way to specify an elementary school closure, so people know?
I don't think,
Yeah.
did it say it in there? I can't remember.
I
We
don't
kind of
think
summarized it, cause it was getting a
Okay.
little, because I
Yeah,
also
I was
added
working
a,
with really tight space.
caveat about, the new state budget, and just kind
Yeah.
of where we were at, so I added a little brief in that, and so we were trying to kind of condense some of the other ones, but
I
we
was
just.
like, when you said that, I was like, let me look what it says.
Yeah, yeah.
I just
we
wanna
kinda
make sure we're
summarized
being as
that.
specific as possible.
Exactly.
If we're saying this is how we're communicating it to the community, I wanna make sure we're being very clear that this is what we are talking about. Cause people understand that, like, Roberts is closing, Bullock's closing, like, they might just think that's what that is.
Right.
So I wanna
That's a
make
good
sure
point.
people understand that that's what we're talking about. Not that we're happy to talk about it, but I just wanna make sure somebody reads it and understands that that's what it is that we're talking about.
I agree with getting, all of that specific data and have it easily accessible to the community. And then, community engagement is going to be a huge piece of this and the decision-making process for us moving forward. And I just, before I said like the steps, like, okay, are we for sure closing one and getting to that point with the resolution? And then I just want to ensure that our engagement, excuse me, I want our engagement with the community to be, first of all, I want them all to know that we want them to be a part of this decision. I also want the engagement that we do with them to be productive for them and for us. And in order to do that, I think we need to really think about the best plan and how we do that, so that it's not, I don't want them to feel like, oh, we're just letting you come to this so you can talk, so, just so we're doing it to do it. It needs to be real conversations and hard conversations on both sides, but they need to be geared towards being productive for us to make the decision as well. I mean, I think that's why we need to narrow down before we start putting a survey out. Personally.
I have some ideas for that, going back to like when Ms. White and I served on the Plan for Excellence. Like, there's a way to allow people to say whatever it is that they feel they need to say, but at the same time for you to facilitate some things that you want to get out of them. So like you can have like questions posted and post-it notes and ask them, answer these questions that we have for them that we want to make sure we get answers to, but at the same time to make sure there's an opportunity for people to say what they need to say. And Mr. Zwizzler back in the day did a great job with that. He's still around, I see him sometimes. And so we learned from that. Like you would have like these post-it notes and questions like if we're in a building, say like, what does this building mean to you? And like let people put that on a post-it note. We can collect that from every building, because that's meaningful, and people that come to a meeting about their building want to share that information, and they want to know that you care enough to ask them that question. And there might be other questions that we would want to post that up with post-it notes. And you have different colors so that they know that they're for the different areas. But then you have that open time for people to come up and share those other thoughts that maybe they have prepared or not. But then it makes it also more welcoming that you've thought about ways in which we're actively asking them for their thoughts as well as allowing them that time to share whatever thoughts that they might have.
I think that Ms. Stewart is going to be a big part in how we do this. So, great. Thank you. Anything else? Are we good? Future agenda items? Great. Item 8, future agenda items. Ms. Hausman, were you able to reach out about getting a presentation? We discussed it the last board meeting.
Oh, on the graduation data, is that what you're talking about? SEI, Summer Education?
Yes.
So I did not get a date yet.
Okay.
But I can follow up again. We do have a date, I think for the literacy, early literacy. I thought
Okay.
that was the second meeting in April. That we have a presentation for that.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Good. Item 9, committee reports. We will start with 6 through 12 construction. Ms. White?
Yes, we met on March 6th, and everything is going really well. The contingency was board approved for the GMP 2.1 to the GMP 3.1. The building itself, the concrete is getting poured in the auditorium. The retaining wall is being installed, and the last part of that. They're sealing the concrete floors in mechanical rooms. Carpentry, drywall, and paint is continuing, and they are putting that into the auditorium lobby, so that was good to hear. The flooring is almost complete in building 1, and then 2 and 3, it's ongoing. And then the main high school and auxiliary gyms will begin in April, so that's good to know too. And there will be wood floors in the lower gym and then in the auditorium stage. Those will be wood. The scoreboards will get installed. The glazing is continuing on, and caulking and roofing and all that. We're looking at plumbing and the fixtures for the sinks and toilets, which I know it doesn't sound like, but it is, you have to have them. And so that will be going on, the rough-ins and so on, for all that will be going on soon. HVAC keeps on going, the piping testing and so on. Electrical and technology, we're gonna put the speakers throughout the building soon, and the auditorium, the rough-ins are going in. The late site work, it depends on the weather, whether the stadium will be completed at the end of this month or not. We're not sure because of the weather, you never know. And then the drainage, so the water retention is good to go, and I think if that's about everything that, well, Ryan was working on, Mr. Houch was working on the antenna, the bi-directional that we need, and trying to see how much that would be to, cost to get done. I think that is an important thing. And then the outlets in the classrooms, we have to look at too, for the desks. The desks are going to move. They'll be, where they can move up or down to sit or to stand. So we want those sockets, the power and data to be right there for the teachers. So that's pretty much what we did and talked about, but it's coming
And
soon.
we have tours for the 6-12 staff
We do.
during spring break.
Yes, spring
Thanks to
break.
Ms. Stewart for her work and helping get that all organized for their staff.
And then I did ask, once it's done, that the planning committee have the first look at it complete when it's done. So I thought that would be important for them. And one last hurrah. So, yes.
Thank you. Anything from athletics and activity yet? No. Okay. Board policy, I don't know, do we need any more recap other than? Okay, I didn't think so. Mr. Harris, Business Alliance.
Ms. Schaefer went in my place. I had
Okay.
COVID, so,
Oh, that's
boy.
right.
yes.
And I did go, and Mr. McIntosh gave a presentation with a student about a fresh farm. It was very exciting. The person I sat next to, I don't recall his name, but he has chickens himself. So he gave me his raffle ticket to try to win some eggs, and I did not win. I had a double chance, still did not win eggs. Tried really hard.
Was he a past?
Yeah,
It's from Community Vineyard.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Is it John?
Yeah, John.
John, yeah,
Yeah,
John's
he
great.
was very nice.
Great guy.
It was very nice.
Thanks
It's
again.
really interesting, and it was, and then the principal from DeWitt was talking about putting together like a walking trip for the students, and looking for some input, like, what about this, and like, the group just really came together, and like, how about, we can help you, but it was all one person from the city building. They're like, oh, she can help you, but they had like all the ideas. It was,
Slovakia,
it
probably.
was, no, she wasn't.
Oh,
Mary.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Mary.
Mary Spoggy.
Yeah, Mary's great.
So it was an exciting meeting, yeah. I had a good time. I
Thanks
would
again
go
for
again.
covering. I appreciate it.
I mean, I would
Thank
go
you.
again, yeah.
District Wellness.
April 7.
Okay. I don't have anything on financial advisory. Foundation alumni, I actually was not able to make this last meeting, but I went over the minutes and connected with them. Just remind everyone that the scholarship program is May 6th here at the high school.
I'm sorry, when was that?
May 6th.
May 6th?
Legislative liaison, Mr. Harris.
Yes, I was able to go to Columbus yesterday, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so for the OSBA, OASBO, and Bass State Legislative Conference. It was a fun, not fun, I guess, it was kind of depressing. Few hours there. We started out, there was kind of a deep dive. I was going to be meeting with Senator Weinstein. He was unable to meet with me. His schedule got a little out of whack there, so I was unable to sit down with him. But I know, Mr. Gomez, you ran into Representative Hall, so I'll pitch that over to you here in a sec. But mainly our biggest thing we did was go down through the House Bill 96, which is that biennial budget, kind of piece by piece there, some of the concerns from those organizations, what they're looking for us to be advocating for, and other advocates as well. Obviously that big push to get those data inputs up to current, at least 2024 level there from 2022. Talked a little bit about those guarantees. If you recall, the budget is reducing by 5% the guarantee in fiscal year 26, 10% in 27. There were a lot of concerns about those reductions as it relates to economically disadvantaged students, students with disabilities, and English learners. We talked a little bit about the Disadvantaged Pupil Impact Aid, DPIA. The budget will require districts with reading improvement plans to spend 50% of their DPIA on either reading improvement and intervention, which is aligned with the science of reading, or on professional development in those areas in grades K through 3. All other districts would be required to spend 25% of their DPIA on these two initiatives. Obviously, that's a concern, a reduction in other services being provided with this aid. So what they're calling for and advocating for, no spending requirements should be considered until that funding study for DPIA is released and the recommendations for funding levels are provided. Obviously, unused facilities came up, huge gasp, and a lot of sneers across the crowd when that was discussed. Changes the definition of unused school facility, if you recall, to include any building that has been used for direct academic instruction, buildings where student enrollment is less than 60%. They were pushing for that to be removed from House Bill 96 and introduced as a standalone piece of legislation to allow for a discussion and an understanding of a little better understanding of impact. Talked about transportation, obviously a big issue here across the state. Ohio is one of the only states that requires public school districts to transport students to schools outside of the district. So we're losing money. The data shows that this is costing a lot. So they're asking for a transportation work group to be put together with advocates, public school district folks to come together, policy, economic folks to put together, look at the issue, come up with some solutions and take that to the legislature. Diagnostics assessments, we talked a little bit about that. House Bill 96 would remove the ability of districts to select their own diagnostic assessment and instead would require districts to use state mandated assessment. Obviously that is taking local control away, so we want to push back against that at all costs. Then we kind of dove into a property tax overview, which was just very informative with Dr. Howard Fleeter. He went over the history of property taxes since 920, back in the mid-70s was passed, and the trends were just unbelievable, and I'm happy to provide you guys with some of my notes. I didn't put those in here, but just seeing the imbalance and more of the burden that's being put on homeowners, it's remarkable. So his biggest thing was, there is a good policy option, and I think he went over the circuit breaker option for that, instead of just doing Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid over this issue. He also discussed a little bit some of the energy bills that are coming across here, taxation for energy properties, House Bill 15, Senate Bill 2, Senate Bill 116, and how those will impact those districts within some of those areas close to those power plants. And then we had a panel discussion, and I was very pleased to see two Republican chairs come and show up. Senator Andrew Brenner, the chair of the Senate Education Committee, and he also sits on the Senate Finance Committee, and then Representative Sarah Fowler Arthur, who's the chair of the House Education Committee, and then Representative and Ranking Member Phil Robinson of the House Ed Committee as well. It was a good discussion. There wasn't as much of how are we going to fix this from the two chairs. I was expecting a little bit more, other than we're open for options. Brenner and Fowler Arthur see, I guess, the issue as it relates to vouchers and school funding as more of an assessment and student success issue with test scores being down. Brenner mentioned why put more money into public schools. At least that's what I took from what he was saying. So they seem to be a little bit more focused on the assessment portion of things, more so than the $1 billion going into vouchers and away from our public schools. Rep. Robinson and I knew we'd be on the same page, and he was on the same page with most of the folks there across the room, given the applause that he was getting. They are, he's upset with the millions being cut from public schools and from special education, calling for some means testing as it relates to vouchers. He and the caucus are putting forth some amendments. I haven't had a chance to look at any of these, but as it relates to the unused school facilities, teacher seniority, means testing, transportation. So they are trying to work with the other side to get a couple things in there that can help alleviate some of these issues that we're seeing here in the budget. He also talked a little bit about some of the things he's introducing, universal pre-K, paid leave for teachers, a lot of Hail Mary stuff right here in the state of Ohio. But yeah, that's pretty much the overview I have there. They talked about a few pieces of the property tax legislation coming out here, but that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. Like I said, I did not get a chance. Our own representatives did not attend. I did not see Representative Romer there. I did not run into Senator Robner either. I didn't stay for the whole lunch. Maybe they came in after, but I didn't get a chance to get in front of them and chat with them. But it was a good opportunity, and I'm glad I was able to make it down there. So.
And I think you saw Senator Weinstein last night, didn't you?
Oh, yes, you did.
Paper?
You went to the town hall, didn't you? Yeah.
I did.
Did you want to give a recap on that at all, or? 700 people attended, I think, right?
There were 700 people there. Congresswoman Sykes and, Congresswoman Sykes and Senator Weinstein. And I got there, so the doors opened at 5, and I'm like, I'll be there at 5. I got there at like 5:15, and like 5 minutes later, it was like completely full, and there were people in the overflow room, and it was a lot of people, and I think I might have cried twice, because there were people there was just the energy in there, people are just so stressed and worried, and they were so willing to answer questions and say, like, look, this is what we're doing, we are here for you. It was so refreshing to hear someone say, like, we hear you, we hear what's going on, and we're gonna answer your questions, and here's what you're doing. If you don't like what's happening, this is what we want you to do, And one thing that's kind of struck me, though, was someone, and I can't remember what the question was about, but said the answer was, across the aisle, our people across the aisle are not getting these complaints. They said, we're not getting complaints from our constituents. We're not getting the calls from people. And then the crowd of people were like, they were in an uproar. Like, we are calling our people. We're calling people. We're not getting calls back from our representatives. But they're telling their teammates that we're not getting calls.
So the representatives are saying they're not getting calls?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not getting calls back from my state representative when I call him about public education.
But so apparently you're not alone. So that was kind of striking for me. I was like, wow, that hurts my feelings a little bit. But it was a good talk. I felt like the people that came, I didn't get up and ask any questions, but the people that did, I feel like that they got their questions answered. They felt heard. They had like a direction to move into. And then she talked a little bit about how the process works. There's an executive order, and then how it was going through the judicial branch and how that was working and everything. So it was. I'm really kind of learning as I go with us. When I came on to the Board of Education, I came on as just like, I'm the mom of Victoria and Dennis. I didn't really know a lot about politics or anything. I just wanted to come in and make a difference. And so since my time on the board, I've just been learning and trying to know more and do more. So it's really been it's been a big learning curve for me, and I've learned a lot, and there's so much more to know, so.
You come with me anytime.
It's a lot, it's frustrating a little bit, because you see a big picture and you're like, how do we get from A to B? And there's just a lot
You
of.
you could find a solution, a solution, but it's the politics that gets in the way of getting to B.
And it's the rigmarole, like there's the bill that needs to go through, and then there's all these little things that get tacked on to the bill, and like, well, why didn't you oh, your congressman didn't sign that bill, why wouldn't they sign the bill? Because of the things that were tacked into, were tucked into that, they didn't wanna sign it. And so then there's just this, all the big fights, and let's just do what's right for our kids. Let's just fund our public education and
Exactly.
Well,
let's just do right by our kids.
I saw Representative Holland Stowe, and he took the time, he waved me down and talked to me about education, which I appreciate, because he's not my state representative, but he does represent part of our school district. And I let him know that my state representative won't reply to my letters or phone calls about education, but I appreciated him taking the time, and we talked about the state budget, and he let me know he's on our side and he's trying to do what he can. But he also let me know that my state representative, Bill Romer, on Friday released an amendment to cut funding for public libraries across the state of Ohio by,
Really?
yeah, so that's what he was doing when he wouldn't call me back. So that doesn't give me a lot of positive feelings about what he's gonna be doing for our school district. But I also can't say for sure because he won't call me back,
Right.
which is really annoying.
And you've called. And
I've called him
emailed.
and written him a letter.
Maybe we need to
It's very
start a
frustrating.
campaign of everybody writing, but not sending them until the exact same day. And the post office takes in
Yeah, right.
hundreds of thousands
Hundreds
of
of
Well,
letters
we can
and
tell
dumps
them to
them
go
on their
back and
desk.
read Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and how they felt about libraries and public education.
So
Maybe they need to re-educate themselves.
Was that an amendment in,
it's gonna, because all their amendments were due Friday. So
right,
he
for
let
the,
me-
for
Yeah.
House Bill 96?
But they haven't released their version yet. I've been waiting to see what the House's version of 96 is gonna be. But yeah, he's cutting funding for public libraries.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you for going, and Mrs. Schaefer too for going last night and for always keeping us informed and up to date. Ms. White, Student
No.
Achievement Liaison.
We meet next month.
Okay. Item 10 is comments. Mr. Gomez.
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to Bullock because they were on a list from ODE for schools that needed extra support, and they are no longer on that list. They were released from that. You might have seen that in the Beacon Journal as well. So I want to give a shout out to Bullock for getting released from that list and all the hard work that Mr. Oswald and his team of folks at Bullock did. So it's a celebration of academic achievement at Bullock. And then I was able to go to the Richardson as well as DeWitt art and book fairs, lots of great art, lots of new books for my nephews. And then Price had their game night, and it was very well attended. And they had some games that they set up, and they encouraged people to bring games from home. Their PTO put it on. It was a really cute event, low cost. They just gave out chips and water, and just told people bring some games from home. And it was a really nice way to bring their community together.
That's fun.
Thank you. Mr. Harris?
I kind of gave my update. I'm all good.
All right. Thank you. Mrs. Schaefer?
I also attended the DeWitt Art Show and Book Fair. There was some really fun artwork. I love the 3D pieces. They're my favorite. When I went into the library, it was where the book fair was, hopping in there. I talked to Mrs. Lindy, and she said that the wave art that was right outside the library was part of the Wit and Wisdom curriculum. They used, like, it was part of the, so it was like a kind of a crossover, which I thought was like a good, I guess crossover, I don't know what would be the word you use. That was kind of neat. Then the tiger tapestry, I think we all were there, right?
Yes, yeah, it was nice.
I took a salsa dance lesson. It was something.
You were probably good.
Yep, it was something. And then later in the day, my arm, like behind my back, were like stiff, and I was like, what did I do? I don't understand. And it's because she kept saying your arms are, because my arms weren't stiff enough. I had floppy arms, so I kept trying to hold my arms stiff while I was doing the salsa dancing. So I need to work on those muscles. maybe I need to take salsa dance lessons.
There you go.
If anyone wants to take salsas, I'll go. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. The whole event was a good time.
It was,
Ms. White?
I also attended the Tiger Tapestry, and it was a lot of fun. I got to see a wonderful dance performance in the
Was it me?
auditorium. No, unfortunately, I missed that. I would have liked to
Doesn't care.
see that, but I missed that. But it was really nice. It was nice to see all the different institutions that were there, fire, police, Akron Children's, and so on. Just really nice to meet some of the people that help us out here in our district. One other thing, I don't have an article tonight, I'm sorry. I forgot. I'll bring it next time. But one thing I did want to, well, if I can find where I put it. Yeah, here it is. I like to read the middle school notes, and just to give the middle schools a shout out, our libraries are very busy places. These were her minutes, and it just so impresses me because I'm a reader. Right now, and I highly recommend it, I am reading Poverty by America. It's a wonderful book, really good. I also have another one, Abundance, but I don't, like, I can only read so much nonfiction, then I have to go back to my light reading. But at any rate, so here are some of the things that she put out. Library visits, 455. That's good. Number of drop-in groups, small and large, who use the facilities without a reservation, 73. Number of actual lessons delivered, 118. New books added, 127, and that's print, 132 ebooks or audio books. I don't want to say how many books they're discarding because I too sometimes have to discard, and I don't like it, but I'm just, never mind. I just have so many books. Gosh, I don't know. But at any rate, and then district-wide, the number of ebooks, audiobooks checked out, 3,909. That's awesome. It really is. And then Bolick held their final reading is fundamental distribution this week, and 1,130 books were distributed to the students in 3 days. That's awesome. It's really good. So that's all I have.
Get those books out for spring break.
Pardon me?
Get those books out for spring break.
Exactly. It's good to see kids reading.
Next up is me. I don't have a lot to add. I think everyone's covered everything again. Of course, Tiger Tapestries, thank you to everyone that contributed to that, and specifically Ms. Stewart and Ms. Ticky, and then Mr. Jones, who even broke up a little bit of a kerfuffle in the bathroom with some middle schoolers, so he was doing double duty there. Yes.
I didn't hear about that.
But an absolutely wonderful event, and thank you all for your hard work. I just wanted to give everyone a reminder of the CARE Awards dinner. That is April 3rd, and our Board of Education, along with the other boards of education from the 6 districts, are recipients of the CARE Community Appreciation Award.
Oh, really? Oh, my gosh.
Yes, so very honored to be a part of that, and be a part of that, of the 6th district. Tomorrow is the State of the City address with the mayor here in Cuyahoga Falls. And Mr. Gomez, can you remind me, I have it on my calendar, but I want to search. When's the State of the City for Silver Lake?
April 7th
Okay.
at 7 p.m. As long as that's a Monday.
Okay.
Yes, that is a Monday.
Is that Literacy Night?
Yes, but
That's
Literacy
what-
Night will be
okay.
like over by then, because Literacy Night's earlier in the
Okay,
evening.
perfect.
You can do both.
Wonderful. Thank you. I had it on my calendar, but I didn't want to sit here and search the whole thing. So, yeah, so if anybody is interested in doing State of the City for Silver Lake, that's April 7th
State
then
of
as
the
well.
Village.
So, okay, that is all that I have for this evening. Item J, motion to adjourn. It is recommended that the Board of Education adjourns this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Stokely, would you please call the roll?
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.